right, we're going to move over to our spotlight matchup. We're looking ahead to the college football championship weekend. The biggest game probably this weekend is the biggest game this weekend. Number 1, Georgia Bulldogs, who are 12-0, taking on the number 3 Alabama Crimson Tide. As we know, they are 11-1. Georgia, the 6.5-point favorite right now with the total of 49.5. We have been patiently waiting all season to watch these two teams take the same field, and it is finally here, so get your popcorn ready, or so we hope. Georgia has a little more breathing room in this one, I think, as far as the college football playoff goes, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be taking their foot off the gas by any means. Arky, give us your expertise in how you will be betting this one. It's going to be a good one. One for the books. Hopefully.
I think it's going to be a really good one, Kayla. And listen, Alabama, you never get them as an underdog. I mean, this is the biggest underdog they've been since 2008 when they were a 10-point underdog to Florida. They ended up losing that game, by the way, and not covering the spread. But also, when you look at how good this team has been over the last decade, they're favored in almost every game all the time, always. So to get them as a 6.5-point dog,
it's weird.
You think it's weird, and you think it's an automatic treat, and I may be sort of leaning that way because Alabama and Nick Saban have won 15 straight games in the city of Atlanta, and that includes 6 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which obviously they'll be playing at Saturday afternoon. Listen, this Alabama team isn't the same Alabama team we're used to. They've had 4 different games in the conference that have been decided by a touchdown or less. They struggled.
Right.
If it wasn't for that extra point against Florida, hey, who knows how that game would have gone. Lost by less than 7 to Arkansas. Lost by less than 7 to LSU. And then, of course, the Iron Bowl you saw went to 2 overtimes against. And by the way, 3 of those teams they shouldn't have even been in the ballpark with. They should have been blowing them out.
Right.
And you just saw what those teams were able to have done to them. Nick Saban, I really trust almost more than any other coach in America. But this Georgia team is outstanding. And Alabama struggles with really strong and fast and athletic defensive fronts, and Georgia has both of those in their defensive front and in their linebacking core. They haven't been tested as far as the overall talent like Alabama would have, but Alabama's had this much more talent than everybody else, and they've been close to a lot more teams than they should have this season. So this isn't the same Alabama team that we're used to, and they can win this game. I just don't think they will. I also don't think Georgia and their offense is good enough to be able to run the ball up and down Alabama's up and down their the chest all game long.
Yeah.
So I think this is a tight, low-scoring game. I like the under in this game, and I like Alabama +7. I'm gonna buy the half point. Like I said, I like to get it to that +7, and if I can get +7, which I've already bought, give me Alabama +7 and the under. But I think Georgia still wins the game.
Okay. I think I'm right there with you. I know Bama has a loss. I know they've been playing teams closer than some of us would have liked, but they are still a good football team. They're still Bama. They still have Nick Saban. And I'm kind of a little surprised the spread is 6.5, to be honest. And as you mentioned, aside from those 4 games that were Florida, who was ranked at the time, LSU, who's a rival game, Arkansas, who was a ranked team, and Auburn, which is another rivalry game on the road, they were essentially crushing their opponents. So I think we need to pump the brakes on Bama a little. When you compare the team leaders in passing, rushing, and receptions, it's kind of a little shocking when I was looking at it because it's really not even close. Stetson Bennett has close to 2,000 yards and 21 touchdowns. Bryce Young has almost 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. Georgia's Zamir White has 691 yards. Bama's Brian Robinson has 1,016. And Brock Bowers leads the Bulldogs in receptions at 37 for 652 yards and 10 touchdowns, while Jamison Williams has 61 receptions for over 1,200 yards and 13 TDs. So what gives? Well, I'll tell you what doesn't give, and that's Georgia's defense, who obviously is carrying the team and only allowing 6.9 points per game. 6 points, Arky, is all they're allowing, so no wonder. But for what it's worth, Bama is holding their opponents to 19. Since we know they like to put up points, Bama has exceeded this total in 9 of their games. Georgia has only done it in 5 because essentially they are the ones who have to hit when they're not letting anybody score. Georgia is 8-4 against the spread. Bama is 6-5. I'm expecting a big game here, and I'm going to go with my gut, and my gut is telling me to also take Bama as the 6.5-point underdog. I feel confident that Georgia can get the win, but I also feel the same about Bama. So I'm going to hope for a close game, and maybe they'll even pull it out. Who knows? Roll Tide, y'all.
Yeah, well, that was weird to hear. I think I think you could be onto something as far as Alabama might be able to pull this thing out. But I do think you're talking about two different teams that are asking really opposite things from their quarterback. It's Stetson Bennett, who's basically
True.
a game manager,
Yeah.
and going over to Bryce Young, who's had to win a couple of games with his arm, over 500 yards against Arkansas, and also with that 97-yard touchdown drive, almost all through the air to sort of tie it against Auburn. Your apples and oranges here, so I think it's going to be a very good game, a very good contrast and styles game, and very much worth your time to watch.
I don't know that you're going to like me saying this, but if Mizzou's not in it, I always root for Bama. So sorry about that.
I just root for my money. At this point, I'm just rooting for my money. That's it.
Okay. We all should be, actually.